I think it is just really, really helpful for some of us to be able to see this in action. And we're going to just talk a little bit about the soul stories of Amelia Earhart and Mary Kay. And I'm not going to get into a lot of detail around this. One point that I'm going to make is I only really share soul stories of individuals who are no longer on the planet. And there's only one reason for that. I personally believe, after the work that I've done with this, after the work that I've done with numerology, with astrology, with human design, and helping people and looking through my own corner of the world, like my own soul story, I believe that there is a sacred nature to our soul style, to the information that's been encoded into our birth date. I believe that there is a sacred divine nature to it. And I feel like it's almost like an invasion of privacy to share people's stories who are still on this planet. If they want to share their story, by all means, I really encourage that, because I think that's important and helpful for people. But for me to do it using their numbers and their astrology and their human design just simply doesn't feel right to me. So I don't do that. So some of the people that I choose, you might not know, you might not be familiar with, and that in and of itself is a great thing, because you get to be able to go and do a little bit of investigation and see for yourself if there's a connection to be made between what I found in their numerology, their astrology, their human design, and what you can find either through reading biographies, autobiographies, even just what's available in their public domain, because I do tend to use figures that have sort of a public presence. So I just wanted to say that in case you were wondering. Mary Kay Ash. If you are not familiar with Mary Kay, she's the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics. It's been around for a very long time, probably mid-60s, I would say. Her birth date is May 12th, 1918. So we added that all together and we got a core number of 9. When you add all of her numbers together, it adds to 27. Take that down to one number and it is a core number of 9. So again, here's a little bit about Mary Kay, and I'm going to touch back on a few pieces that I think really did come through very clearly. And you're going to find it even more so in her birth chart, in her arrows and her personal pyramid when we get to those segments. So her core number is 9. So what does that mean? What are some things about a core number 9? Well, let's start with the optimal path. The optimal path for a core number 9 would be to reach beyond this pure idealism or raw ambition, one side or the other, pure idealism or just raw ambition, in order to define their personal point of view, their thoughts, and distill that down into something that's very practical and focuses on improving human life. And so that's the core number 9, also defined by really strong humanitarian qualities. Now, how those get expressed might be through very ambitious ideals or goals, which if you're going to start a company in the 1960s and you're a woman, that would have been an ambitious goal for her to undertake, right? Expressed through maybe a deeper sense of responsibility, right? Or this idea of idealism. But I want to encourage you guys to think, if you're a core 9, the core 9s that I've worked with will sometimes struggle with taking idealism and translating that into something that is practically implementable, right? Practical implementation of the ideal, okay? And so some of the other things is that there's a prime motivator to be able to put people before things, right? So the vision or the ideal is in favor of people before possessions, people before things, right? They are idealists at heart, and that's one of their highest vibrational qualities, is that they do see the ideal. And yes, it can be frustrating. It can be a struggle to be able to take that down into something that is implementable, that you can implement in the way the world is right now. Sometimes it really feels like you're trying to make a quantum leap and the world's not ready to go with you. So that's idealists at heart. And and the goal is to spend some time working through translating the ideals into practicality. Definitely about service to humanity, honesty, integrity. And those two qualities are very, very natural for them. And so sometimes they can assume that everybody has them, which obviously can lead to a sense of disappointment, cynicism, maybe self-doubt. So that's just something to be aware of for core 9. And there's the ambition. Inclined probably to be more focused on the plan than really getting into the details of it. But ambition can, cut both ways. It can be, like we talked about at the very beginning, raw ambition, where you're really just wanting to achieve something, and you're not really thinking about how either what the ripple effect is to the achievement. But in Mary Kay's case, I think, did she find her way beyond this idea of pure idealism and raw ambition in order to define her thoughts and her points of view, and move that into a very practical way of focusing on improving human life? Well, so she had a career from 1939 to 1963 with Stanley Home Products. And what caused her to leave was she was passed over for a promotion. So it caused her to make a change, to shift. And we're going to see how this kind of really played out when we get to looking at what her personal pyramid was. So in 1963, she left Stanley Home Products, and she retired, quote, retired, to write a book all about business and women in business. That book ultimately ended up becoming her business plan for Mary Kay Cosmetics. And despite a few really challenging experiences in between her leaving, her writing the book, she did go on to start the company. I believe it was in 1965. Obviously, that was a very successful endeavor for her. My knowledge right now of Mary Kay, I am not an expert in Mary Kay, by the way. I've never worked for them. I don't know anybody who has. There was definitely moments woven through her story, through her actual story, that you can see reflected back through her core number. Through her core number, you will see it again when we look at her birth chart and her arrows, and you will see it again when we look at her personal pyramid. Mary Kay, we're able to follow her all the way through to the very end and see how her personal pyramid actually came to life. And just ask the question, did they find their way? Did they find their way? Did they find the way that was somehow, quite mystically, I think, quite magically, quite divinely encoded into their birth date, into their core number, into their numerology? And are you finding yours? Are you finding your way? And is it possible that understanding your soul style by the numbers might be of benefit to helping you find your way, either faster, being a time bender series, fast tracking and time bending, or finding it more clearly, finding it with a greater sense of purpose, greater sense of meaning, and with a greater sense of alignment to that part of you, to the person that you are, where life starts to feel a lot more like flow versus fatigue, a lot more like creativity versus chaos and confusion. So did they find their way? I'll leave you to decide that for yourself. And are you finding yours? I'll leave you to decide that for yourself, and come back to the intention behind this time bender series anyways, the soul style. The universe buries strange jewels in each of us and stands back to see if we can find them. See if we can find them. And if we can find them, that lines us up with this idea of big magic, creative living beyond fear. If you are finding yourself in a place where you'd like to be around other people who are talking about this kind of stuff, or you would like to get more, maybe some more intuitive insight from me on what you're finding in your numbers, reach out to me at my website, where you will find fast track guides and time bender series that break down your core number, your birth chart, your arrows, and your personal pyramids to find your peak pivot years.